time. I know that your lunch hours are structured, so, or your lunch time is structured, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And those that join us later, that's just great. So let me introduce myself. My name is Cynthia Steidel, and I am with the Fifth Third Bank Empower You program. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have about 18 years in banking experience. In those 18 years, I wore many hats, from a mortgage loan officer to an investment executive to a branch manager to district manager within our regions. So with that being said, this is my most favorite position within the bank because I can take the knowledge that I do have and share it with you, in turn empowering you to make better financial decisions. So with that being said, you are attending our first, our number one class out of 13 that we offer. And this program is about, like I said, empowering people. So those that attend, make sure you tell your friends and your peers that you don't have to bank with us to attend. It's merely just educational purposes, okay? So with that being said, again, this is one of our 13 classes. We offer a wide variety from how to invest to what 529 college savings plan should I choose for my child? How do maybe health savings accounts work? How can I get the maximum advantages out of those? Things in that nature. So, like I said, with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started with our first question of the day. So what percentage of Americans have a monthly budget?
25%.
25%, that's it. It is. That's a good guess.
I was going to say 19.
19? Okay, all right. I can tell you that when I was in a branch many years ago that, actually not that many years ago, but it's starting to grow. As far as the budget perspective and how people view budget, it's with more of these financial literacy classes, we're really able to say, okay, this is what successful families do, and this is how they become successful. And it begins with that basic step of a monthly budget. So we were very close. It was 32%. This statistic comes to us from the Gallup survey, which you can kind of look at this and say, okay, where do I fit in into that 32%? In this class, we will talk briefly about budgeting, but we do have a budget class that really gets into further detail about kind of what free services can you use and how do you have a budget and then revise it, because it's an ever-growing, ever-changing item in your life. So, with that being said, our next question, what percentage of workers are confident about having enough money for a comfortable retirement?
Comfortable is the key word there.
Yes, not confident.
It's comfortable.
Just comfortable.
Well, they're living an illusion, first of all, mostly, but I would say probably about 35%. I don't think they are, even though they're not.
Okay, all right. So a little bit higher than on the budget piece, huh?
I think people live in a dream world when they're younger and think they got it made.
Yeah. That's
She's
right.
like
Could very
talking
well be.
right.
Is she staring right at you? So actually, 49% say that they feel like they're going to be confident about their retirement. Only 13% felt that they were very confident. So with that being said, we have created also another class in reference to retirement and retirement planning. So look for that possibly in the future. So with that being said, kind of opens our eyes on a couple of items, but this is the big one. So I can't wait to hear the results on this one. What percentage of Americans list money as their number one stressor?
I say 80%.
Yeah,
960.
Okay.
96.
That's
I was just gonna go
That's
for it.
it.
96.
Jobs.
I'm gonna go 90 because there's a few billionaires and millionaires in there that are really stressed.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So they say 75%.
75.
Uh-huh. Yes, view money as their number one stressor. And that does come to us from the American Psychological Association. So, and again, that's why we're here today. We're hoping to educate ourselves around how our financial picture looks. So make some changes starting today. So take that action today, and hopefully we can continue to reduce this percentage. So in our financial checkup, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at how we plan in our financial picture, how we're going to protect it, and then lastly, how we're going to grow it. So in that first piece, so planning. So we can't get anywhere without a roadmap, without some sort of plan. So that brings me to the first topic that we just kind of talked about, budgeting. So budgeting gives us that roadmap to success. So number one, we have to figure out what is going to be our goal. So what's our number one priority in our financial picture? So your idea, your number one goal may be to purchase a home, right? Whereas this lady's, her idea may be, okay, I'm going to look at paying off some debt or doing a college savings plan for my child. So all of our goals are going to be obviously very different. But things that we can do to prevent us from derailing from our goals is planning for those life events. So a life event will be marriage. Sometimes that's costly, right? Children. So planning for that additional expense. Right? Open up the pocketbook and just say sayonara. But children, right, becomes that added expense sometimes of daycare, your college 529 plan, things in that nature. Career change. Sometimes that happens without, our intention, right? Downsizing, things in that nature. So sometimes we can't always prepare for that career change. So in essence, we need that emergency savings fund. Okay, so and that will help us continue to plan for our goal without being derailed. Okay, so the emergency savings account. Does anybody recall? I'm sure we've all heard some months of salary that should be in our emergency savings account. Does anybody want to shout those months out that they've heard before? 3 years? 36 months?
Oh, no,
6 months of salary?
I thought it was 6 months.
Yeah, I thought it was 6 months.
Okay.
It's more than that, isn't it?
It is. So we talk about, so let's just say if perhaps maybe we haven't started an emergency savings account. So initially we want to start with at least 3 months of salary, okay, in our emergency savings account. And I tell you, it's entirely up to you. The most successful people will set small milestones. So in turn, we have that gratification. We have that encouragement to continue. So if we haven't started an emergency savings account, then maybe what we do is we start with just 1 month's salary. Okay? And then maybe our next goal is going to be 3 months. And then lastly, we end at 6 months of salary. Okay? So just remember that when you're setting your goals, make it where it's realistic, where you actually get some gratification and you get that win. Okay, that fist pump. Yes, I accomplished that. Setting yourself out, if you haven't even started, you set yourself out for that 6 months of salary. That's a little intimidating. Okay. So then again, retirement. Those of us that are ready to start planning for retirement. So of course that would be a life event. That's definitely going to change potential amount of income coming in. So with that being said, your elements of your budget. Let's talk about and let's share, how about is anybody using a tool that they would like to share about? They're really excited about it. It's been really good for you. Any tools?
Every dollar.
Okay, all right. How much does every dollar, initially, like when you're just doing the basic, how much does every dollar, and this is a Dave Ramsey program, how much does that cost you?
It doesn't cost me anything.
What?
It's free.
Okay, it is free. And this application even communicates with you can have it on your phone. Is that right? Okay. What? I know, right? If we haven't started with the budget, that's where I would start. Okay, especially when it's free, you're not paying a lot of money for a service that's very good. Anybody else want to share anything? Any other tool? Okay, so there's also some other free ones. Has anybody heard of like mint.com? I think that's a free one as well. Check it out. But I believe that one is free as well. Absolutely. So, and in a budgeting class, you'll have a paper worksheet. You can even go online and Google worksheets on budgeting, and you could find plenty. Okay. So it's all about starting today. So with that being said, what's going to go into our budget? So we know what that consistent salary is going to be. What dollar amount are we going to use? We're going to use our net money on our budget. Okay, so we're not going to use that gross figure, so before taxes figure. We're always going to use what we truly goes into our account. Okay? So bonuses, if your bonuses aren't consistent, then what you want to do is maybe use your last 2 years W-2s and average what those bonus figures are. We're looking at your last 2 years, that last December 31st pay statement, and then average that to be part of your income. Okay. So any investment income, of course, that's still going to be an income. Of course, child support. So the second major component of your budget is going to be expenses. We should be able to capture 75% of what your expenses are because most of them are going to be contractual. So we know what that rent payment is going to be or the mortgage payment. Child care is pretty consistent. So, and then the expense of our car. So let's think about this. I want us to not only include that contract that for our car payment each month, but if we have an aging car, we paid off many years ago, and so we have to think about this car is not going to last forever, right? Or we have to budget in those car repairs that are going to be consistent. So try to get your average on vehicle repairs, and that's going to be an expense for you. So those of you that have those free and clear vehicles. Okay? And then you can budget for that next car purchase. So pretend kind of like you have that expense already, that car payment. So food and clothing, we have to budget it. This is something, again, that derails us. Because we go into Kohl's, oh, but I got 30% off. Right? I mean, I get those Kohl's ads all the time too. So that's just as an example. So in order, if we budget for it, then we can plan for it and make sure we don't derail from our budget. Because sometimes what happens when we derail from it, oops, I spent $50 at Victoria's Secrets. Or oops, you know, the Men's Warehouse had this heck of a sale and, you know, so there goes the budget. I'm moving on. Budgeting just doesn't work for me. No. Budgeting can work for everyone. So, as long as we plan for those items that don't derail us. So another expense, let's talk about that. What else can go into our budget that's not up here?
Christmas, birthday presents.
Oh, thank you. You're exactly right. Those no surprise that your niece or nephew's birthday's next month, right? It comes every year. Okay, plan for it. Planning for that Christmas, whether you're using a Christmas fund, anything like that, planning for it. Car insurance. Okay, how many savings accounts can you have? Is there a limit? Oh, as many as you want. So if that works best for you, then you can have the automatic deduction And then your $10 for your Christmas club or your $10 for your niece and nephew's birthdays and for your Christmas can all go into those savings accounts automatically on the day you get paid. Then you don't even have to worry about it. All you do is set it up once, and you have full control over those automatic deductions. You don't have to call your banker or your bank. You can just, everything online. Okay? So that's a great practice. So savings. So I can say that from a savings perspective, we have to make sure we plan it into our budget. So those of us that haven't started on that emergency fund, 4% of your disposable income is a good place to start. Okay, it's small enough that it's not very impactful to your income, to what you're used to having after your expenses. Retirement 401ks, we always stress, make sure you're hitting that match, right, at the very least. And then max out, if you can, maximize that 401k contribution. So planning for the investments and planning for that college savings. Remember, you have to take care of you first before we can start doing that college savings account. Okay? So if we have high interest debt, we really don't want to be doing a college 529 plan. We really need to focus on the high interest debt. Okay? Or if we haven't contributed enough into our 401k, we need to probably stop doing a 529 until we've taken care of ourselves first. Okay? All right, so with that being said, so savings again, so if we haven't started, use 4% of your disposable income. And it is critical to build that savings into your budget. So protecting it, how are we going to protect it? Credit score is empowering you. So your credit score is going to determine how much interest you're going to pay when there is a time that you need to borrow. So you can see on this graph where your peers lie. So this is going to show you that at a score at 750 and above, you've got 40% of Americans there. Okay, where do you lie? So a best practice is to review your credit every 30 days. So that's the best practice. So in turn, you can, number one, prevent potential identity theft. Number two, what if there's something on there that's maybe not yours? It happens. The last thing you want to do is find something on your credit right before you're trying to buy a home, or you're trying to purchase a vehicle, or maybe you're at a department store and you want to get a credit card. We don't need any of those embarrassing moments, right? Decline what? Well, the rest of this line didn't hear you say that. So what are ways that we can look at our credit every 30 days? Does anybody use any services that you really are happy with, you'd love to share with your peers?
Credit Karma.
Ah, she's just full of them today. People of the day. Yes, Credit Karma is another great source. How much does Credit Karma cost you?
It's free.
Oh, what? You said free? Why should you pay for something, right, when you can get a service provided to you? So that's a great source. That way you can look at it. Those inquiries, monitoring inquiries, do not affect your credit score. So sometimes we've heard, oh, well, if I pull my credit, that's going to reduce my credit score some points. That's more like a hard inquiry. So when you're applying for credit, that's when it dips your score a little bit because some flags start coming out. What is she going to do? What's he going to do, with this new line of credit? So we begin to be cautionary. Okay? Any questions there? So what's in our credit score? So in this pie chart, you can see 10% of your score comes from newly acquired credit. This will affect, so if you've applied for a couple credit cards, then 10% of your score is going to be negatively affected because we don't know what you're going to do with those trade lines. But then also inquiries, so if you've done a lot of inquiries, that's going to affect 10% of your score. So when you're shopping, you're rate shopping, we suggest that you do that within a 10-day period. And better yet, you know what your score is because you're looking at it every 30 days. Maybe you're making that phone call to lenders and you're saying, my score is this. Please tell me what potentially could be my rate. Because some lenders will have an internal score that they create all on their own formulas. So you won't get any guarantees because there may be an internal score that's going to affect your interest rate as well. But at least you can get in the ballpark. Okay, I know this lender's only going to offer me 4.5, but I know 4% I'm going to be able to get at this institution. So it's a great tool. Looking at your credit every 30 days. So the next 10% is going to be your credit mix. So let's just say as an example, so this young lady right here has a mortgage, a car loan, and a credit card. This young lady over here has 5 credit cards, and both have paid all their debts all on time. So in that example, who do you think has the higher score in reference to this 10%? Who is the best 10%? So she's got a mortgage, installment loan, and a credit card. She has 5 credit cards. Exactly, because her credit mix is better. Hers is just all revolving. Okay? So I'm not saying this for you to run out, I gotta get myself a car loan then. I don't have a car loan, so I gotta get myself one of those. No, just understand, if you're striving for that 850, that perfect score, just remember what goes into it, okay? But I pay all my bills on time, why is my score not perfect? There's other contributing factors. So with that being said, length of credit history is 15%. So be leery of closing out lines of credit, especially when you've had them for a very long time. It's a blood flow to your heart. So blood flow to that credit score, all right? So, and when you're not using them, okay, it's still kind of growing your credit score. But if you just use it to, let's say, maybe charge a tank of gas and then pay it off, then you've got some utilization, and then that card that you've had open for a long, long time is going to lift your score even higher. Okay? So be leery of those, like I said, closing those old accounts. I'm never going to use that Old Navy again. Keep it open because it is still helping your score. Any questions around that?
That just seems silly to me, but I know my husband and I have talked about that too, because I was like, well, we just need to get rid of that. No, don't do it.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
But it doesn't make any sense.
No, that it doesn't. But you have to think about, if you opened that 10 years ago, you have 10 years of history. So that's great to your score, because then your score is going to continue to be good, because if you go to borrow again, so then the scoring's going to say, well, hey, she's had this open for 20 years and she hasn't abused it, or 10 years, she hasn't abused it. I trust her. Right, I trust her to make that next payment. So 35% of your score, so that your biggest weight, but not all your weight, right, is basically your payment history. So if I have a payment that's due February 1st, and I don't pay it till the 25th, so I already passed that grace period and I already paid that late fee, is this going to affect my credit negatively? My payment was due February 1st, I didn't pay it till the 25th. Does that go negative on my score? On my credit, I mean? It doesn't, because you have to be 30 days delinquent. So when you're due February 1st, as long as you pay it before March 1st, it doesn't affect your score because it's not 30 days delinquent. I don't say this so to encourage paying late.
But they're probably still going to charge you a late fee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're talking about what affects your score, right?
Right.
So with that being said, it's only to educate you so that way you don't feel derailed if that situation was to happen to you, where you had an emergency come up and you had to pay a little bit later than normal. So another big piece, just like your payment history, is going to be this 30% debt and available credit. So in this example, I'm speaking of revolving the lines of credit. So your home equity line of credit and credit cards. So does anybody know the percentage you should stay underneath if you're going to have a balance or even charge for that month? What's the percentage of your available credit should you stay underneath?
30.
There you go. Yes. So if I have a credit card with a credit limit of 300, my balance should never be over 100. But those of us that say, well, I charge everything because I want those points, and I'm going to pay it off. Well, that's great and dandy, but you negatively affected your credit if it's over 30%.
Even if you pay it off.
Even if you pay it off. Even if you pay it off when you get that statement. Now, if you're one that does this, if you're one that charges, and then waits a couple days for that to go on your online account or something, and then you pay it with your app, with your phone or whatever, so it never gets actually on your statement. The transaction does, but it doesn't go on your balance statement, your statement that shows a balance, then that's fine. Because some of us will sit there and charge our gas and take the phone, oh, I charged $30. Okay, pay it. Even they didn't get the credit card bill, nothing like that, they just go ahead and pay it, because that way they get the points. Okay, so remember, under 30% on all revolving lines of credit. Okay, I'm not talking about mortgages and I'm not talking about installment loans. Okay?
So say you have 3 credit cards
Uh-huh.
and your total line of credit would be $30,000.
Okay.
You need to keep it under that,
Each individual one.
each individual one. So
Yes.
it even counts individually.
It counts individually as well.
Okay.
Okay? Very good question. Very good question. All right, so with time, in essence of time, with that being said, protecting your identity, 12.6 million Americans in 2012 were impacted by identity theft. So every minute, 19 people fall victim to identity theft. College students and your elderly are particularly vulnerable. So another free tool is the annualcreditreport.com. So that's a free tool as well. So make sure you're covered. This is the protection part. So make sure we have that renter's insurance if you're currently renting. And the homeowner's insurance, of course, if we're a homeowner. Disability, life, and health. So your loss of income, that you have adequate replacement. You have those named beneficiaries. Growing it, we want to make sure that in our investment map that our goals are matching our investment goals. Okay? So align each goal with a timeline. So start with goals with fixed timelines, like your retirement, you know when you're going to retire, for example, and add goals with those flexible timelines, okay? So start with your actual balances and stay on track. So if your obviously your current strategy works, then continue that. So with that being said, these are your short-term engines, what you should use. These are your long-terms, and then here's the great examples of retirement engines. All right, we get more in details in those in the investment class. So if you can find that extra $10, look what happens to that in 10 years. So that turns into $7,000. Where can we find it? Maybe our coffee shop purchase. We stopped doing that. We stopped going out to lunch, and we save it from, and we don't go to that movie maybe on Saturday. So in 20 years, that could be $20,000. Wow, that goes pretty quickly, doesn't it? Or it grows faster than what we think. So, thank you everyone. Any questions for me today?